This podcast contains strong language and adult situations. If that's not your thing, you've been warned. Welcome back to the Fuck My Work Life podcast.
Hey everybody, I'm Kay.
And I'm Jay.
And this is the podcast where we read your workplace stories to you. And more recently, we've had guests on that are telling us their workplace stories. And today we've got Abbie Stabby and Dean, otherwise known as that FKing guy from that FKing show. Hi, guys.
Hey
guys.
how you doing?
Hello.
Thank you for joining us today.
It's all good.
It's good to be here.
We're happy to have you. So tell us a little bit about your podcast.
Well, Abbie, it's your podcast, so you go ahead.
God damn it. Yeah, well, when did it... No.
It's named after you.
What?
Okay, I've actually got an elevator picture for this. It's part conversational, part entertainment, part educational, all bollocks.
Yeah, that makes
The best way of
right.
describing it. It started off as supposed to be me and Boo Lamont doing interviews with people and occasionally playing a quiz. And after the third show, we realised we just want to play quizzes with our friends. And occasionally we have a guest on, but mostly it's me, Abbie, Boo Lamont, and Aisha Raymond. Pretty much all quizzes these days.
Yeah.
I may have to change it around because it's getting so difficult to do a new one every week.
Yeah, especially like sometimes last minute, something will come up for one of us and we'll have to completely reshuffle the format, but we usually manage to wing it pretty well. Yeah, I think the most popular sort of episodes we do are the Are You a Dead quiz. How would you describe that one for the people?
It started when a couple of podcasts ago, because I've had so many over the years, and me and Boo started talking about someone who died and we didn't know they died. I thought, I was like, oh, he died 10 years ago, and there's someone else who wasn't dead who we thought were dead. It's one of those things. You kind of hear someone's died, and someone did recently, and I'm like, didn't he die ages ago?
Yeah.
And it started a conversation like that and developed into me saying, right, is this person dead? And Boo was like, yes. And it's like, no, still alive. And it developed from that into different rounds and different ways of talking about dead people, pretty much. And the most popular round is the one where we have to guess if someone is dead, when they died, and how they died, which has the unfortunate catchphrase of cancer. Yay!
Oh,
Yeah.
Boo hates it because it gets to the end. I'll be dead losing, I'll be dead last, and somehow, through sheer will of the universe, I'll manage to wing it at the last second.
Yeah, that is the thing with the quizzes. I try to get the last round to be to the point where even if you're dead last with 0 points, you can still win somehow. And Are You a Dead is a bit like that. And Abbie has now won. I think we've done it 13 times, and she's won it 12 out of the 13 times. Mostly in the last round.
Every time.
Yeah.
she knows
Pretty
her
much.
deads.
Yeah, I got the nickname Queen of the Dead on the podcast, and coincidentally enough, I recently bought myself this very fine throne here. I'm not completely overdoing it or anything. I think this is just subtle enough.
I love it. So we often in this show talk about how work sucks, and to battle how much work sucks, we drink a lot. So
Excellent.
what are you guys drinking today?
Okay, Abbie, you want to go first? Are you drinking anything special?
I realised I didn't have that much in, so I was a bit cheeky and I nicked some of my mum's Pinot Grigio wine.
Ooh.
Nice.
Then I've got a can of cider that I'm probably going to crack open afterwards, so yeah.
Lovely.
And I did get a selection of beers last night from Whole Foods, but I did pick up the Coors.
Of
Just for you guys.
course.
Yeah.
Look at you.
And you had to
You son of a bitch. You. I love you already.
what do you think about it?
It's a basic lager.
Yeah.
I mean, you can drink it. It's fine. It quenches your thirst. You're not going to get excited about it anymore.
Exactly. I don't think there's anything exciting about it, but it's not gross, right?
Yeah, I mean, I drink, when the supermarket actually carried it, perhaps Blue Ribbon, which apparently is the worst beer. And I was buying tons of boxes of that and just drinking lots of it. And that destroyed my taste buds for beer. Because before that, I was on IPAs and these really fancy, there was like an app which was kind of about like all these beers, and you put in ones you're drinking in, and you get as many as possible. And I got to about 500 at one point, 500 different beers, and they were all different flavors. Like at the moment, I've got here's a jam donut ale.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
interesting.
And also on the line is a Das Blonde. Because I do like a short blonde with a big ass.
Don't we all?
but I got to the point where I just started drinking Pabst Blue Ribbon, and it destroyed my taste buds. And it's like, now I can drink anything, it'll be fine. I can even drink Red Stripe, which is possibly the worst beer in the world.
So most of the
Red Stripe.
Most of the pubs I have been to that have done like metal gigs and stuff always have an offer on. You can get 2 cans of Red Stripe for $5, which is like, I don't know what, $7 or $8 or something. But
oh wow,
that stuff I can like. It's such a mild taste. I can drink it like water, and within about 3 cans, I'm just sort of like wobbling on a seat. It's really.
I don't know if I've ever had a Red Stripe actually.
I'm sorry, man. Are you trying to show me up pounding that beer like that?
Uh-oh.
Like, what are we getting into? What are we getting into today?
We'll just sit to the side. We'll let you two
right
peacock it
we'll
out.
Just get shitty pounding beers.
Abbie and I will just be chatting away, and you guys will just be.
It'll be fine.
We'll be like, by the end, we'll be like 2 sailors. Ah, you fucking wanker! Ah!
I have done that on the podcast before. Yeah.
There was one podcast where we all got very, very drunk. I remember that. I barely.
Yeah, that was a couple of years ago.
Yeah, when we first started, I was like, no, let's try to be sober. And then we realized very quickly it's much easier to podcast when you're drunk.
Yeah, I was kind of annoyed. Like when we first started, she was like, maybe can you not drink as much when we do the podcast? And I was like, what the fuck? That's like, what are we doing? And then it was a couple podcasts after that people were like, you guys sound a lot more loose when you've had a few drinks. And then we started we drink because we work.
Yeah. Well, you're drinking Coors, of course.
Yeah, of course.
I'm drinking an Elysian Night Owl Pumpkin Ale because it's that time of year.
Oh, yes.
It's so good.
That sounds really nice.
It's wonderful. I get made fun of for how much I love pumpkin beers because as soon as they're out, we'll go and just stock up. It's so good.
Oh, man, that does sound really nice. It's like a few years ago, I went through that whole thing of everyone really got into gin, and I got so many different flavors of it one Christmas, and one of them was like a gingerbread flavor, and it was the best thing I've ever drank. It was so nice.
That sounds wonderful.
Goes with absolutely everything.
Do you guys get pumpkin ales and stuff out there?
I haven't seen any, but we probably would do.
I think living in London, I do get more of the fancy stuff. I think my local gets like a pumpkin ale occasionally. I've never been one for the most, so I don't really do it for me. I don't get the pumpkin spice thing at all.
I got a bit of a poor history with like, IPAs and stuff like that. I've only ever had one, and it was purported to taste like cereal milk. It did not. I was very unhappy because I paid like £6 for this shitty can of disappointing tasting beer.
Yeah, that's generally the way. That's why I stop with those ones.
Yeah.
I cannot get into IPAs. They're so bitter to me. I don't know. Everyone out here fucking goes nuts for them, but
Last time I went to the US in 2019 to see my other half because he lives in New Orleans.
Oh wow!
He got me into White Claws.
Oh yeah,
I really like them. They're like cider without being like sugary. Like they're really nice.
Mm-hmm. They are super easy to drink, but the hangover is intense. You all right there?
Hold on, I don't want to cut you off. What's going on? How was that jelly donut?
It's good. He just went down the wrong hole.
That's the worst.
Too many wrong holes today.
Yeah.
That's what she said. Line.
But
That does taste like a jam donut. It's good.
it does taste like it.
What suffering?
Yes.
Oh dear.
Who wants to tell their first work story?
I think Dino should give it a bash first. I mean, you've been in the world of work longer than I have.
I think I've been in work longer than you've been alive.
I'm 29 this year.
Near enough. Okay, so I work in security. I have done for 20 years now. And the reason I know it's 20 years is because I started the week before September 11th.
Oh, wow.
And security was one of those things of someone gave me an application form and said, do you want a job? And I was like, yeah, sure. And he gave me an application form, filled it in, and they went, okay, you're a security guard now.
Jeez.
And the first job I was on was in a newspaper in Kensington. I think it's Associated Newspapers. Statute of limitations is long gone by now. So I turn up for the job, and they're like, okay, we need you to sort of just cover shifts here and there and do like the random jobs around the building. And the first day was they took me to a hallway, and it was about 1 meter wide, 3 meters long. And there was a chair in the middle of it next to some papers. They went, okay, we need you to just sit here. Okay. And what? Just sit here. If the fire alarm goes off, tell us. Okay. Is the fire alarm not working? Well, it's working, but it's not connected to the main system, so we won't know there's a fire alarm going off downstairs. So tell us. Okay. So what time do I get relieved? So, about 12-ish. It's 7 a.m. at this point. Anything else? No, that's it. Just sit in the hallway. That's it. And that's my first day on security, was sitting in the hallway.
Oh, wow.
This was 20 years ago, and no mobile internet, not prepared, so I didn't bring a book. Text messages and that kind of stuff was like an extortionate amount of money to send one. So I was just sitting in a hallway for 12 hours pretty much, doing nothing whatsoever.
Oh.
And that prepared me for a life of security. So well.
I mean,
like, always bring a book, always bring like a mini radio. Yeah, and it's just crushing disappointment ever since.
Always bring a pillow.
Yeah.
I mean, that was it. I said, like, well, I don't know if the alarm goes off. And they went, yeah, it's like 4 decibels or something like that. And they tested it out, and it nearly deafened me. Right, okay, so I can sleep here, and it goes off. I'll wake up for sure. So halfway through the day, I was like, okay, I'm going to sleep now. But it's like high-powered fluorescent lights straight in your face, and the camera's on you. They're looking at you. So if you're sleeping, they know.
Oh, God.
And you can't sleep. And it's like, okay. So I'm just sitting there for 12 hours doing nothing.
Oh, my God.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Shit.
How long did you last at that job?
This is it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't quit. I come back the next day. They did the same thing, but I was prepared. I brought a book, bought a radio. It wasn't as bad. And the day after that, I got onto the main rota, so sort of going around the building. It was a little more interesting.
Yeah.
And like I say, I started in September 20 years ago. I know this because of an anniversary of something that was commemorated recently. And I remember where I was when September 11th happened. And it was on the 6th floor of this newspaper building, sitting behind a desk. They said, like, just sit there. If anyone comes up, just direct them to this meeting room down the hallway. And that was it. For 2 hours, I saw nobody whatsoever. That was it. It was just sitting there. I was reading a book, listening to the radio a little bit, reading a book again. Got bored, and I heard someone sort of clomping down the hallway at one point. It's like, okay, first person I've seen in 2 hours. And they were like, oh, have you got a TV down here? I was like, no. It's just, there's been a crash at the World Trade Center. And the wording on this is important because they said a crash at the World Trade Center. And I said, oh, is that a bad thing?
Oh.
Because I know the World Trade Center is like stocks and shares, and crash means financial crash.
Yeah.
And I assumed it was that. And she gave me the dirtiest look I've ever had in my entire life. I said, a plane has crashed into a building. You don't think that's a bad thing? And stormed off before me sort of being able to explain myself. And I'm like, okay.
Yes, that's
called after her. Well, you didn't say that.
Be more specific.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the next day I got moved off that site. Not because of that, but because they needed extra help at the US Embassy in London. So September 12th, I was working in the US Embassy in London, and it was absolute chaos.
Yeah.
And that summed up my mentality with security then. It's like, it needs to be taken seriously. There's reasons why we do certain things, even if it is just sitting in a hallway doing bugger all, waiting for a fire alarm to go off. It's like, we're there for a reason, even if it's like really stupid. But that's me in security. It's been 20 years now. There's a 5-year gap in the middle of that. I was doing random things, but I'm still doing it. I renewed my license a couple of days ago to do it for another 3 years. Because weirdly, I found a company that actually I enjoy working for.
Rare?
After 20 years.
Nice. What is that like?
Well, of doing a job I hate for 20 years.
I mean, you deserve it.
next year I'll be at mine for 15. So, and last year we started a podcast called "Fuck My Work Life." So you know how I feel.
At least you've managed to get that out of it.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, it's like if you sit in a hallway for 12 hours and you're prepared, you can do a lot of things. Like if I knew that then, or if it happened now, it's like, oh, you're going to sit in a hallway now. It's like, okay, I got a mobile phone. There's a plug over there. Sit there playing my phone for 12 hours.
Yeah.
And you learn how to skive off and do things which are beneficial for you rather than like, and you're doing your job with it. It's not like I'm currently at work. I work in retail now. And retail security is just standing there and you're checking people coming in, going out. If the alarms go off, you go and check them. If anyone dodgy comes in, you go and check that. You sort of say, right, someone, keep an eye on this guy. And I'm listening to podcasts all day because I've got like a little rig set up so I can listen through my radio earpiece.
Yeah. Nice.
Because I've been in the job so long now, I know how to do these things. But I'm doing the job while skiving off. And the last job before that, I was doing night shifts. And while I was doing night shifts in a building that was completely empty, I was editing entire wrestling shows, entire podcasts. I was been drawing comic books on site. And that's why I've been in it so long, because it's like, where to skive off, and you get out of a 12-hour day, you have maybe 8 hours where you can do whatever you want.
And get paid for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. As long as you do those one thing they ask you to do, it's like, yeah, okay, cool. You can skive off, and it's not like you're doing a bad job at it. That's why I've stayed in it so long.
Yeah. I used to be able to listen to podcasts all day, and then my job shifted a couple months ago, and now I can't, and I'm fucking hating life.
I still get to listen to whatever I want.
I've got that luxury now because I'm self-employed and I work from home, but my old job, for about 5 years, I was look at Dino smirking, I was a Christmas elf at Santa's workshop.
Fuck yeah.
Year round?
So it was like November, end of October, like November and December each year for like the span of about 5 years. And it's like working in retail over Christmas in general is bad enough, but being like the focus of every raging wannabe middle class parent's ire because one little thing goes wrong.
Do you hate children now?
Oh, I didn't like them anyway.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong.
No.
I love my nephew. I love my friends' kids. They're all great. But just like
everyone else's kids are great.
Exactly, because you can give them back afterwards.
Yes,
but
exactly.
Oh my god, it was. It wasn't even so much the kids at these events that was the bad part. It was the parents or like the guardians with them, because you saw so many different sort of spreads of humanity in that job. Like one woman got very ferally angry at me. So the way it worked at my old place was you go into like Santa's Wonderland. It was at a garden centre kind of place. So you go into Santa's Wonderland, you go to the elf at the front desk and you ask the kid, oh, what's your name? And then you write it down, put it on a sticker and stick it on the kid. Because it wasn't your typical one kid in, one kid out kind of visit to Santa Claus. It was this place rinsing as much money as it could because it was like a chain garden centre thing. And I still get like night sweats thinking of how much I hate the manager from that place. But we weren't
what was
allowed
his name?
Mark. His name was Mark, and Mark can go eat shit. I don't have to work there. Like literally, I've got it lined up. So like if they ever ring me to ask me to work there again, there's this old British song called The Laughing Policeman. So I'm going to get that. I'm just going to play that down the phone at him if he ever tries to ring me up again. He can fuck off. But so basically it wasn't one kid in, one kid out. It was 15 kids at least in, with about 2 parents to kid in a room where they have to do arts and crafts and make reindeer food and stuff teddy bears for Santa, which was like a germ breeding ground in itself, because you got empty bears, you got the fluff, and, get the kids to do that, kill 15 minutes while the group ahead were talking to Santa, and then it was like shifts. It was like a sweatshop basically. And it was really bad. And so if the kids could you could whisper slyly to the parents like it's an additional £10 if you want to buy the bear and take it home, by the way. And if they didn't want to buy it, like I used to say to them, like, I think it's extortionate as well, just don't buy the bear. But sometimes they appreciated my honesty and bought the bear anyway, which is, hey, fair enough. But if they didn't buy the bears, it was a case of one elf, there was 2 elves in the room at the time with all these kids. You know, after the kids had stuffed all the bears, you'd go round with a big bucket like, oh, I'm going to take these to Santa's workshop now. And then you'd tag the bears that were paid for. And then the other ones, you took them into a shed outside in the cold in the middle of winter in the UK, which was like just off to the side from the building. And yeah, you basically had to go in this shed, basically disembowel all these teddy bears in front of Santa's workshop as kids went past, not realizing what you were doing, and then just put them back in separate boxes, bring them back in for the next group. So as you can imagine, in current sort of germ aware climate, would not have flown well.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was pretty bad. And then yeah, so you'd get the kids do that. They go to see Santa Claus, and the reason they had the name tags on was so Santa Claus could pretend he already knew who they were, so he could very clearly see, like, oh, you're blah, 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 like the kid's name, and they'd all be like, oh, like that. And the way it was built, so it was craft room at the front, then it was Santa's workshop, and then behind there, which was like a hidden room as you left, was basically a stacked up room full of presents sorted into which time slot group of the day, what age the kid was, blah, 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 blah. And Santa would ring a bell and go, Rudolph, can you send the presents down? And it would be like an elf in this tiny, tiny boxed up airless room has to throw all these, basically throw all these presents down the chimney.
Oh, jeez.
And the kids are like, oh my God. And you try not to get spotted by the kids because it was built at a really awkward angle. But yeah, so this one woman at the front desk comes in one day, and I'm like, oh, hi, what's your little boy's name? She says, oh, it's Jackson. So I start spelling it Jackson. And the woman just gives me this look like a bulldog just chewed on a wasp. And she was like, are you going to spell his name right or what? Oh. And I was like, what? She was like, it's Jaxxyn. And I just sort of looked at her for a second and just went,
oh my fucking God.
No, I just looked at her like this and I went, of course it is. And then I wrote it down and she put in a complaint against me. And the funniest thing was like, I only took that job originally because I'd finished university and I needed like some temporary work, and it just became sort of like a supplement job to the artwork. But oh my God, like I was the oldest person there every time. And every time I was above sort of minimum wage for teenagers because the rest of the girls working there were like 16, 17. And they'd ask me like, oh, I hadn't seen you in school before. And I was like, mm-hmm. And they were talking, they only realised how old I was because they were talking about boys one day and they were like, oh, do you have a boyfriend? And I was like, yeah, my boyfriend at the time I was talking about. And they were like, oh, how old is he? I was like, he's 33. And they went, what?
Pedo.
So I guess that was kind of flattering in a way. But then again, you'd, no, I was getting to that bit. So you'd obviously get the dads and the uncles and the granddads. And it was always the men. The women were very respectful, but it was always the creepy men that were just like, very like, oh, you're a very pretty young girl. Oh, you a model? Are you at college? And I just said to him, I've got 2 degrees. He was like, what? I'm 27, mate. You know, it's. Oh, it was so funny. And then there was one guy who was he came in with and I have to stress this, it was his 3-year-old little girl and his mother-in-law. Goes up to Santa Claus, who was this Scottish guy who came in to work on a motorbike every morning. It was like different Santa Clauses. Oh, and that was another thing. It was 2 different like Santas on it each time, so you had to perfectly stagger each visit so the groups didn't accidentally walk into each other. It was hell. Yeah, this one guy was getting a bit handsy with one of the young elves, and he was like, oh, can she come sit on my knee for a photo, Santa? And you should have seen the look on his mother-in-law's face. And as they left, she clouted him around the back of the head with her handbag. It was brilliant. It was so good.
Nice.
Oh, man. And my elf name was Snowflake.
Aww.
Aww.
That's so sweet.
Which all my friends found hilarious. Can I just say, there was this one kid one year called Travis, and Travis was categorically an asshole. Like, he was about 7 or 8 years old, and he was just walking, like, it was a room full of tiny kids, and he was probably having a shit time because it was mostly tiny kids, but he was just deliberately being a little shit. Like, he was throwing stuff at the elves, and his parents were like, stop it, clicking on the phone, stop it, dear. Oh. And then, yeah, he walked out afterwards, got his present from Santa, which is all like basically the same things with a few variations depending on the age of the kids. And he was just like, oh, this present's shit. And then he throws it in the bin. And I was just like, okay.
You're shit, Travis.
You're shit, Travis.
Oh, you want to come back to Santa's workshop, you little fuck?
Oh god! I tell you who was cool though. We every now and again, depending on how slow the workday was or how busy it was, we'd have like extra help in and get like an older woman who worked there to play Mrs. Claus. And one of the women playing Mrs. Claus was like an ex-debt collector. So she was built like a brick shithouse. And we were on a break once. We were all sat in the room when it was empty and there was like no kids in there. And we were all eating our sandwiches and she was having a coffee and everything. She was like, "Did I ever tell you about the time I got shot at work?" And we were like, "What?" Like literally, she went to debt collect from someone's house, thought it all went okay, went to sit back in her car, and apparently as soon as she put the keys in the ignition, her window shattered, and she thought it was something she did. And then someone came running out of a house nearby, and they're like, "Are you all right? Are you all right?" And she was like, "Yeah, I'm fine. Why?" And then she looked down, and she'd just been like right in the arm. And you don't really get guns in the UK, so it was like, oh shit.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Oh yeah, she was a bad.
So like as a security guard, you don't have a gun, right?
Oh no. We have very little actual authority over anybody. I think we can stop people coming into a building if they cause hassle, and I've only ever had to do that once in 20 years, and that was essentially my job was stopping people parking in a certain place. So like I said at the start, you generally get given one job to do. And that was the one job of this place at this point in time, was like stop people parking there. And one delivery driver would always park in this one place. And it's like you go out, speak to them. You have to get up from behind your desk, walk out the door, say, right, you need to park 5 meters in over there. That was all it was. It was 5 meters over this one. And this guy just kept stopping there, saying, "Oh, I'm only going to be 5 minutes." It's like, no, you're not. You're going to be like at least 20 because you've been here every day and you take 20 minutes every day. And every day he did it. Every day I'd go out saying, "You need to go park over there." And then one day he parked where he wasn't supposed to be because there was a car parked in front of it because they weren't supposed to park there and they were completely ignoring me anyway because security guards have no authority over anybody whatsoever. He parked up there and said, "Oh, he's parked there. I'm going to go in and do this because I'm going to be 5 minutes." So I just let him in because there's not much I can actually do at this point. Because again, no authority over anybody. But when he came out, he said, like, "Oh, do you only do this because I'm black?"
Oh.
And I just said, "I'm revoking your privilege for being in this building and I want you to leave now. And I'm going to get my supervisor down here to speak to you if you don't." And just ushered him out of the building because my supervisor is Jamaican. My manager was Iranian. And it's like, if they said it, it wouldn't have been a problem. Because I said it, it's like, just because I asked him every day because he was parking in the wrong space. And that's the only time I've ever had to actually escort anyone from a building in 20 years.
Wow. How did he take it?
Probably not well because he lost his job.
Oh, wow.
He was working for, I probably can't say the company name, but a really famous courier company. One of those, yes. He was working for one of them, and their area manager come down and had to speak to me about it and actually interview me about it because it was a massive issue. And they come down and said, like, "Oh, what happened?" I said, explained everything, and he went, "Okay, cool. Well, he'll be here today, but that will be the last day he'll ever be here." Wow. So he either got moved off that delivery route or fired. Yeah, that's the only time I've actually had to enforce anything with anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, that's good after 20 years.
Yeah.
So do you have like tasers or batons or handcuffs? Or, like, what kind of security are you doing?
We Americans love our weapons.
Are you just like a security guard who sits somewhere and says, "No, okay, yes, no, okay, no"? Or are you like...
Have you ever been to the UK at all? Because the security guards are like just really passive. They sit behind desks, and we get the give off the impression that we're just work shy layabouts because people just sit behind desks like slumped in a chair, gut hanging out. Because that's a lot of security guards, and they may be doing their job, but you'd never know because they look like that. So that's the impression we give off every time, like security guards. But yeah, we don't have any weapons. Our training now. Since I started, when I started, like I said, I put in an application form and I got the job. That was it. It's like 3 day, like, oh, this what happened on site, to fill in these forms. And it's a basic personality kind of thing. Now you have to do 5 separate exam test type things, including the first aid course, a conflict management, another thing which is like physical intervention. That's what they call it. And that's the self-defense if anyone gets violent with you. And I was doing this course, and it is like a 3 day course, this thing. So they're saying, right, it's first day is all written stuff and like explaining stuff and showing you films, and the next day is like the actual running you through how to do it. And it was like these demonstrations of self-defense and maneuvers, which I look at on the internet and laugh at, because I used to do mixed martial arts and I'm into martial arts. So I've done Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, professional wrestling, and shoot wrestling. Come along with that, a little bit of kickboxing, little boxing, and like I know generally how to handle people. So if I got into a situation with someone, I know if they're going to be violent with me, how to actually handle myself in that situation. And they were saying like, oh, if someone gets you in a chokehold up against the wall, and they were doing this very basic hands out around the throat chokehold against the wall, and they, all you need to do is push the arms down and step to the side. And they explained it a couple of times and showed it a couple of times. Push the arms down, step to the side. And they wanted everyone to do it. And I did it. And they said, oh, you come up in a fighting stance now. Because I pushed the arms down, step to the side, and come up in a fighting stance. Like hands out. That's what it was. Hands, like showing, palm showing. That's a purely defensive stance. And they said, you come out in a fighting stance now. I went, this guy just tried to kill me.
Yeah.
If you don't think I'm going to push his arms out of the way and then choke him out.
Yeah.
Or do damage to him as much as possible. If it's just one guy, I can do that. If it's two guys, bit of an issue, but it's like you push the arms down, you grab a bottle, you smack him upside the head, and then you take the second guy out however you need to. Because this guy just tried to choke you out, which is essentially him trying to kill you.
Yeah.
In that situation, I can do whatever I want.
Poke the eye, grab the balls. Poke the eye, grab the other balls. Like poke the other eye, grab the balls, knee in the butthole, stomp the foot, all of that shit.
Yeah, there's like my best ever self-defense lesson was in professional wrestling. It's like the first place I went to professional wrestling school. They explain like these are these moves, these are these moves. But if someone gets you against the wall or gets you in a position where you can't defend yourself and you've only got your hands, it's like you take out their balls. It's like, oh, what, your knee in the balls? No, you take out their fucking eyeballs.
Yeah.
You put your thumb on the bridge of the nose and push as hard as possible into their eyeball and pop their eyeball out. Then you grab that eyeball, you pull it out. They can do very little if their eyeballs just balled out.
That was one of the first things I was taught was if you're in a situation where you feel like you can't get out, no one expects you to go for the eyes. And you don't have to go for both. Just one eye. Eye, and you will make that person not be able to see anymore, and you can run or you can get away. It's not about fucking someone up.
I don't know if I could do it.
It's about whatever you can do to make the situation what's the word?
De-escalate it?
De-escalate the situation. And if it comes to poking someone's eye, poke their fucking eye and run the other way. Because once you poke one eye, they're not seeing out of the other one. Everything's watering.
I don't know if I could act. I mean,
but you should still just for good measure, grab the nuts.
Or kick them.
And just yank. Like poke eye, grab nuts, run.
I mean, that's the first thing I thought. If someone's got you up against the wall choking you, you fucking kick them in the nuts, right?
No, you poke their eye, you grab their nuts, and then you snicker and run away. The best thing you can do.
It's something a lot of time they won't grab you by the throat like that. They were doing it. It's a really unrealistic situation. It's like they're going to choke you. They're going to do something else.
Yeah.
And it's like they
like arm around.
Their forearm against the throat. And I've told my girlfriend this. It's like, if someone gets you in this situation, because she did like professional wrestling, I said, if anyone takes the mickey with you in the ring, like takes advantage of you, like starts hitting you really hard, just take their eyeball out. And like in situations of self-defense, I said like, well, we take their eyeball out. And she's like, oh, I don't like eyeball stuff. And it's like,
yeah,
you're going to die if you don't do it. So just put their eyeball out. And like, when they're on the floor, roping around, like in pain, find something heavy, hit them on the head. And she went, then what? Keep hitting them until they're a stain on the floor.
I mean,
because they've just tried to kill you. You can do whatever you want to them legally. The law won't see anything. Like they'll go, no, that's fair enough. But it's the horror movie thing of like people, they'll do something and then just walk away.
Yeah,
and it's like, no, just keep hitting them.
Yeah,
until they're like a mark on the floor. That's self-defense. But then I get told off for that when I do in classes for security for some reason.
I would hope if I was ever in a situation where that instinct would kick in, but just thinking about it, I'm like, I don't know if I could stick my finger in someone's eyeball. I don't know if I could do it, but hopefully the adrenaline would kick in and you would
Oh, definitely.
Be able to do that.
Well, I did have some guy come onto our site one day, and he was doing basic security training, saying about, oh, what if this person did this, and what if this person did this? And we were like warned they were coming, so it's like my manager and was like, do what you usually do, but like be extra professional about it and answer all the questions. And we got along fine with this guy, and he's like doing certain tests. I mean, I'm getting along okay. I said, so what is the restraint procedure now? Because we've not done that. Because I was actually quite interested in like the restraint and physical intervention and how we restrain someone if they try to get into a building and they're not supposed to be there. Want to eject from the building. We can't do. When I originally started, it was some sort of wrist hold, and they said, "Oh, we don't do that anymore because it causes pain to the person, and they may sue you for it."
Oh, jeez.
I said, "Okay, how do you do it?" And he did this maneuver. He's like put his arms around my waist, and he kept his head down, and he sort of just clamped my arms into my body, put his arms around me, and it's like, "Oh, right, this is how we do it nowadays. We do this, and then we call for backup." It's like, how do you call for backup if you've got both arms around me? It's like, "Oh, we call for backup beforehand." It's like, right, okay. Did this maneuver. I'm like, okay, so how do you get out of this? And oh yeah, it's perfectly normal. It's perfectly like we won't get hurt doing this. You can't get injured doing this. And I just reached my hand back. My hands were against my side. I stepped to the side, grabbed his balls, and pulled them down slightly. I said, "Now what?" And he sort of let go of the body very quickly and went, "Oh yeah, I didn't do that completely correctly." It's like, yeah, no, whatever, you didn't, did you?
Mate, sure.
This was the person teaching the course?
This was a person who probably had a hand in designing it.
Wow.
It's like, this is how security should do stuff. And I just grabbed his balls and just very lightly pulled them down slightly and twisted them. Because that's how I always taught to do self-defense. Was the guy I taught me self-defense was an absolute insane person. Nicest guy in the world, but absolutely just not there. He was like, yeah, when someone comes up to you and they're giving you hassle, you put your hands out and you say, yeah, mate, sorry, calm down. Bam! And he just forearmed like in front of your face, and you're like, oh shit, yeah, okay, you do that. So you put your hands out on their shoulders, and the whole reason is because you can throw an elbow to their face.
What? No.
And it's like if someone grabs you from behind, you grab the balls, you pull them down, you grab them as hard as possible, put your nails in,
poke the eye,
pull them down as hard as possible, and twist. And that's what this guy didn't sort of factor into this whole security maneuver. Like, yeah, okay.
I bet that made it into the curriculum the next time.
Yeah.
We have a revision.
The next time we got the thing was
grab the ball. Okay. There's a revision to the way we deal with this. We're going to grab them around the waist, and then we're going to grab their balls, and we're going to twist.
Just lightly.
And if they don't
twist
give up,
pull
then,
down.
well, you're fucked.
We're not even going to buy them dinner first. Just
No. Light grab and twist.
What if they're female? That's a different story.
I mean, elbow to the titty is thoroughly unpleasant.
It is very painful.
Yeah, that's why the scary thing after that was run and hide, pretty much. Because we had the big terrorist thing in at some point, and it was like people just coming into sites and stabbing people.
Oh, jeez.
So we got the thing of like, yeah, just go hide somewhere and call the police. I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm doing anyway.
In 2017, when the London 2017 when the bridge attack happened, and there was a bunch of stabs.
The London Bridge one or the Borough Market?
The one, I'm just trying to think when it was. It was like June or July 2017, and there was like, I think it might have been the Market one. There was a couple of stabbings sort of like in the middle of London. Like there's a few different places where things were happening at once, and I was in London at the time at a gig, and I had friends from Poland calling me up like, "Are you okay?" And we were like, "Yeah, I'm at a gig." Like, what? What's going on? Like, it was bizarre, to say the least.
Yeah, we were passing through London Bridge as it happened.
Oh, shit.
Coming back from like a wrestling show, just passing through.
And that was a stabbing, right?
They were going through a period of like driving vans onto sites and into areas, and then
busy people and like mowing people down.
Yeah, that's why all the bridges in London have like these barriers up on the pavement now, so people can't actually mount the pavement. But this one was like they drove a van into somewhere and started stabbing people in the market.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think it was a similar day. But the London Bridge attack was, the way that he partially subdued the guy was some guy in, like, a nearby building or a museum ripped is it a narwhal tusk off the wall and just beat the guy over the head with it? Like, true shit. I'm surprised it's not, like, reported in the US. It was hilarious. I mean, it was terrible, but it was hilarious. Oh, man.
Amazing that they were that resourceful.
The thing about that was, it was a bunch of actual prisoners who were like on day release. So these people were like lifers pretty much. And they actually were like on a day release.
On day release?
They were like on. They'd been.
It was at a conference, wasn't it? Where it happened. These people were at a conference about
rehabilitation.
Yeah,
something like that.
How to act on day release. It was
something really pertinent. Yeah,
Jesus.
Man, this is weird. I know someone who was actually in that, who actually stopped the attack, who was actually on a life sentence for murder.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Like years ago. And it kind of ties in with my first story about like the September 11th attacks. Like, because 5 minutes after that happened, I got a text message from someone with a joke, as you do.
Oh no.
Someone taking a joke about the September 11th attacks. And that person eventually got, he I'll say this. Yeah, he murders a girl just for the sake of murdering her.
What?
And this was like 5 years after. And yeah, he was one of the people actually on the bridge who prevented the terrorist. And it's a really weird coincidence because I was like, I knew about the London Bridge thing. And a friend said, like, yeah, you're not going to believe this. He sent me the picture of like who was involved in it. I was like, fuck's sake.
Wow.
It's one of those weird serendipitous moments that happen. Like,
yeah.
Jesus Christ, that is, wow.
So he was a current prisoner on day release on the.
It was weird. He got 14 years for murder because he was mentally only a 12-year-old or a 14-year-old.
Oh, wow.
Because he was only that level mentally, they said, we can't send him to prison for life. Yeah. So we have to send him for like a limited amount of time. And I think he got a day release for 12 years after 12 years.
Wow.
So apparently he'd been out for quite a bit at that time.
Wow.
But yeah, that was just a really weird sort of situation where I'm like, I mean, the guys doing that, preventing the terrorist attack, were former murderers. And it's just, how do you handle that?
Yeah, it's like in sort of prisons in the city near where I live. Oh, that's a cat. In the prisons in the city near where I live, there was this incident that happened a couple of years ago. Basically, Britain's worst paedophile was in this prison, and he got, I don't know whether it was a case of the guards just conveniently looking the other way, but one of the other prisoners who was, I don't know what he was in for. I think it was murder, but he offed him.
Oh shit.
Let's put it that way. It was, and it's one of those things like, I mean, fair enough.
Yeah.
I probably would as well.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing there. Like I know here they say like in prisons, if you're in for like any kind of child molestation, you're going to be offed in prison.
Yeah. You have to be in like a separate.
Or like cannibals. I think that's why Jeffrey Dahmer was offed.
Well.
Was because the shit that he did was so heinous. And he didn't do it towards kids. You know, it was all.
But it was because it was so unusual, I think.
So out there.
Jeffrey Dahmer, it was still like teenagers though, right? When was it like teenage boys? Or am I mixing up my serial killers?
No. Well, if they were like 19, 20. Most of Jeffrey Dahmer's victims were.
Yeah, still a bit young. Yeah.
They weren't 10.
They weren't like children,
they
but
weren't
still
kids.
young. Yeah.
So this is a lighthearted episode then.
I know.
Very
no, it's going to be different. It's good.
Cancer! Yay!
Oh, Jesus Christ. There is context for that, by the way. He literally isn't just like screaming yay about it. Like there's backstory. Which probably doesn't make it any better. Because usually, right, when we can't think of, like, if it's a specific death, we have to guess, like, the person, they died, how they died. It's always usually one of three things. It's either cancer, heart attack, or what's the other usual one? It's like...
overdose?
Suicide.
Yeah, like, something like that.
When it comes to famous people, it's either cancer, heart attack, or overdose.
I think there's one quiz we did once where 3 times in a row it was the big bad C.
Ugh.
And the fact that we were cheering about it, we just felt awful afterwards. Like we felt real bad about it.
Until you won.
Until I won. Fuck all of you. No.
Let's take a moment to hear from another great indie podcast.
Do you like the TV series Tales from the Crypt? Are you interested in full episode and movie reviews from Tales from the Crypt? This podcast is for you. the Good Evening Kitties podcast, where I, Melissa, your ghostess with the mostess, recap every episode with special guests and bonus horror movie reviews. The Good Evening Kitties podcast can be found on most podcast platforms. Check it out today.
And we're back.
Make sure you go give that podcast a listen.
Do we have any more work stories?
I do want to hear about professional wrestling, though.
Ooh.
Oh, man.
Here we go.
Abbie, you were a professional wrestler?
No. No. I went to university with some wrestlers, but no. I tried a wrestling class once, and I couldn't walk for 3 days afterwards. So no, it's not for me. Wasn't meant
That's
to be.
generally what happens.
I know, right? It's because I'm so out of shape.
No, that is generally wrestling. When I started, it was 99, and this was a period, especially in the UK. Even though you knew it was fake, they treated it as real to a certain extent. So they wanted to give the impression that it was real, and the first day's training would absolutely kill you. So the first day I went there, it was like, okay, it was quite tough. Did the break falls, which is willingly letting yourself fall backwards, and you'd hurt yourself pretty much, even if you were doing it perfectly. Like for the first time, you'd hurt yourself. You gradually build up a resistance to it. You get used to it essentially. But then I took a week-long training school, and a week doing that stuff. After the first day, you're absolutely wrecked. The second day, you kind of barely move, but you're still doing it because you've paid I think we paid like 160 odd pounds for it. This is 99, so probably about 500 pounds nowadays. It was a lot of money, and I spent the entire week there. After the third day, my chest was absolutely black from taking chops. Yeah, if you've seen professional wrestling, it's like chops. It's like you slap someone in the chest really hard. It's like
clotheslining someone. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's that as well, and just running the ropes in general gives you bruises. The first time, a couple of times you do it, because you're not doing it properly. And the first time, if you don't do it properly, the next time you're going to hurt anyway, even if you do it properly. So after a week of it, I couldn't move for about 3 days. I possibly cracked a rib, but I couldn't. I never actually went to the doctors to sort of find out if that was the case. But I had a black chest, could barely move. I was in good shape though.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you're doing professional wrestling, what's a cracked rib, bro? Just fucking suck it up.
Hey, Dino, you should show them your fucky shoulder.
This is not going to work for a podcast.
I want to hear live reactions.
We can cut it out, but we still want to see it.
No, you can get the reaction from it because
I'm
so
scared.
There is that's what my other shoulder looks like. It's what it should look like. This is my other shoulder. This is my trick shoulder. I can.
Yep, I see it. Yeah, you can move it out.
I can actually dislocate my shoulder at will.
Oh my god!
Because I dislocated my shoulder at some point, and I don't know. There's 2 occasions which I could have done it. Sorry, Abbie. Look.
Oh god! Oh, please stop it! Please stop it!
That's fucking awesome, dude. That's awesome.
So I can get a straight jacket anytime I want, but I don't know which time it was. But I essentially dislocated my shoulder. I went to the doctors and they were like, "Oh, right, we need to get an X-ray." They took an X-ray and they went, "Oh, come back 2 weeks later." 2 weeks later, they went, "Oh, yeah, dislocated your shoulder. Anything you can do?" Nope, nothing. Brilliant.
Cool.
Great.
8 years later, my shoulder was giving me aggro because I was working night shifts and sleeping on the bus to work, and I was in a position where my shoulder was dropping.
Oh.
So I went to the doctors and they went, "All right, you need to go to get an X-ray." Got an X-ray. And the person who took the X-ray went, "Right, we need to send you to the emergency room now because your shoulder is dislocated." I'm like, "Okay."
But what about when I put it back in?
Are you in any pain? Nope, not whatsoever. And they were like, "Right, so your shoulder is dislocated and your shoulder blade isn't actually connected to anything. And you've also broken your collarbone quite severely, and it's set at a really weird kind of angle. It's not really obvious on camera. It's not even really obvious in person, but there's like a massive lump on my shoulder blade, collarbone, where it's set like that, rather than that. But when you see the X-ray, it's like my shoulder blade is just floating in nothing. It's not connected to anything whatsoever. It's just the muscle that holds this in place.
Shit.
So that was I think that's my biggest wrestling injury. It was that. I don't know which one it was. It's like I tried to do a fancy move where I jumped on the shoulders and did a backwards somersault, and they land on their head. Like it's a Hurricane Run or a Frankenstein type move. And the guy just dropped me straight as I was turning, and I just landed straight on my shoulder. It's either that or when someone kicked me in the head and I turned to do like a standard bump in wrestling, which is like just land hands down on the mat in the ring. But it was a 10x10 ring, and it was absolutely solid. So it was like landing on concrete.
Oh, God.
And I didn't get all the rotation round, so my shoulders just popped out. And this was 2 minutes into what was supposed to be a 15-minute match. And fortunately, one of my opponents, who didn't know my shoulder had actually been dislocated, put it back in by doing like a wrist lock and like a motion, which is like it's a wrestling thing where they do like this thing where they
crunch
just shock the shoulder, and it just went pop back in. It's like, okay, so that's back in. And I just carried on the rest of the 15 minutes, like just holding my shoulder.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
All right.
I called that one in the ring where I was like, someone went to do a powerbomb on me, and they was like, pick me up. They're supposed to spike me on a powerbomb, which is like, you go up on their shoulders and they push you straight down on the floor. And they did that, and I went, fuck no, I'm not doing that.
No.
Started punching their head and went, no. Sort
of whispering to him, like, stop it, man.
It wasn't whispering at that point. It was like, no. No. Punched him in the head and did the thing and got through the match. And it was like my shoulder was like,
oh.
And that was in Grimsby, which
that is
in relation to London, that's
like not that far from me. And like,
yeah, and Abbie lives like 5-6 out by car. How long is that?
Well, from me, like hour and a half, maybe.
To London.
It's not that far away. It's literally over the bridge from Hull, so that's like not far away.
I mean, from Grimsby to London.
Oh Christ, that is quite a while away. Yeah.
So yeah, it was the show finished about 11. I got in the back of a transit van which had no seats whatsoever. Travelled 6-7 hours back from Grimsby to London. Got them to drop me off outside my workplace, and I did like a 3-hour shift at work, like with one arm. With I was a cleaner at the time, so I was just mopping the floor with one arm. And told my boss, I was like, yeah, I won't be in tonight. It's like, why is that? Because I might need to go to hospital.
God.
It's like, what for? And I just went, like, my shoulders like this, and it's like, yeah, I might need to go to the hospital. And she's like, yeah, okay, fair enough.
If you have to.
Oh,
I guess.
If you have to.
It's just a skive. It's just an excuse.
God, it's managers being shitty like that. It's like when I was doing the elf thing, and it was like the week before Christmas is easily like the most hellish week on the planet. And that day, 3 of the elves had quit, and there needed to be at least 6 of us on, so I had to do 3 other people's job. And
ugh.
Yeah.
Yes, that's totally like dislocating a shoulder and taking a 6-hour journey from
Yeah, it totally is. For me, you try put up with Mark the asshole.
Or Travis.
Fucking Travis.
Or
Jackson.
Oh, Jackson. Oh god, that's not even the best kid's name we got. And this kid was amazing, by the way, and I love this kid to the ends of the earth. One of the best kids we had through. Legit. This kid's name on her birth certificate was Binky Bam Bam.
What?
Fuck yeah.
Legit. Oh yeah, no, this is a really cool kid. I think she came from like a hippie family because her mum's name was something like Fathom. Like they were really nice people. Like they were so cool.
You think? Binky
Oh, yeah, no, they
Bam
were-
Bam?
Nah, I mean, that's one of the things. Like, you had some names come through for kids, and you just know the parents were trying to be really pretentious with it. Like, there was this one kid, and he was like not even 1 year old, and he was dressed in like a way too nice sort of like tweed clothes for a kid that age. And I was like, "Oh, what's your name then?" And then the parents were like, "Invictus," and I was like,
Oh God.
Fuck off.
in the back of my head, I was like, at least you can shorten it to Vic,
Right?
oh.
Chase.
But yeah, some of these. Oh god, it was. We have this like. I'm trying to think of the word. I was going to say pandemic, but that's not a good word to use at the moment. We have this like thing over the past few years in the UK of like really common kids' names. Like all the boys are either called Mason or Grayson or Caden, and like every other girl, and I'm not even joking, there was one day when we had 3 separate girls who were not related to each other, all different age groups, and they were all called Lacey May.
Oh God.
Exact same spelling.
It's not just there.
No,
It's here too.
It's
I'm painting a kid's skateboard right now.
Yeah.
He lives in our neighborhood, and his name is Caden.
Caden.
Where does that name come from anyway? Like, is there a major thing? I like Bella and Edward.
Oh God.
But
Oh
at
yeah,
least have Twilight.
we had. Oh no! Speaking of that, we had a Renesmee come through.
Oh no.
A what?
Yeah.
Renesmee from Twilight.
Renesmee.
That's the name of the baby.
I've never watched Twilight, so
I watched half of it once, and I was like, you know what? Even I can't deal with this much bile.
I read them and I was like, okay, this is entertaining until like the last couple books. I'm like, this is dumb as shit. And then I like also hate watched the movies because I read the book and just like, Jesus fucking Christ.
it reminds me of
Renesmee.
Yeah.
Renesmee. There was this one little kid that came through one day. Of all the sort of shitty days we had at this grotto, and there was like overwhelmingly most of them, there were a few good days, and there was this one group came through of like nursery school kids, so that's like kind of kindergarten level for you guys.
Yeah.
And there was this one little kid come through. I think his family was Nigerian, and his name was Courage, and he just spent the whole time high-fiving me and talking about wrestling, and it was the cutest thing ever. It was so good. And then I'm pretty sure it was on the same afternoon later in the day. It was one of the really slow days, sort of early November. A family came through and they bought 3 trolleys full of husky puppies to visit Santa.
Oh, those motherfuckers! I love them.
And they all had Halloween themed names. And it was really cute. It was really precious. I've got a photo of it somewhere. It's so good. It was amazing. Like literally, we were dragging all the elves that weren't even on shift to come over and get a picture with the dogs. It was so good.
Aww.
Oh man,
I much prefer animals to children.
Yeah, but
Absolutely.
Huskies are they're like kids. Like I don't want my own, but I love everyone else's. I love that I can give them back because Huskies,
they're very vocal.
They're really fucking vocal. And they will ruin your whole life when you own one.
There's a guy that lives locally to me, and he actually has like 4 trained therapy huskies that he takes for like hospital visits, grievance, counselling, all that kind of thing. And they always walk past my house every day, and I always go down to give him a cuddle. And there's one in particular called Binny Boo, who is the grievance dog, and she's just got these really bright blue eyes, and every time she sees me she just nuzzles her head on my shoulder and just sits there. It's so cute.
They're so sweet.
Cute. Yeah.
Because you're Queen of the Dead.
I am the Queen of the Dead. She knows. Well, there we go. I did manage to teach the cat some tricks though. I've got it now, so if I lean over and I tap myself on the nose, he stands up and he boops it with his paw.
Aww.
And
what?
Yeah, no
Your
shit.
cat?
I will find a video and send it to you of him doing it. Like
that's why he has fans on the internet. That's why he gets money.
That's why he's got
Twitch.
fans, because he does kicks. Yeah, like
Holy
I'll say,
shit.
okay, give me a nice kiss, and he'll sort of put his paw on my hand like that, and he'll put his ears back. He'll give me a little boop on my nose
God.
with his nose. He's such a
That's
gentleman.
amazing.
So we're supposed to announce the beers we've had.
We can.
Because I've had the Das Blonde.
Oh, you had the blonde.
Yeah, that's
How was it?
the big ass short blonde.
She's a nice 6.5.
How was she?
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
It was good. I would have again.
Read his comic and find out.
I moved on to a Duvel Triple Hop Citra, which is a 9.5.
Oh, shit.
Oh,
which is the strongest I could actually find today and yesterday, weirdly.
that'll grab you by the boom boom.
What do you got, Abbie?
That's really good.
Strongbow Dark Fruits. It's the basic bitch of UK ciders.
Yeah. We get the Strongbow ciders out here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice.
I moved on to a Howling Gourds. Where's my camera? Howling Gourds, another pumpkin ale, because that's all I'm drinking right now. Look at that bottle. It's so cute.
Oh, that's pretty. I like that.
I actually moved on to
More Coors.
a Coors Light. This one. If you look at the sweat, it's been sitting for a while, so it's not quite as cold as the other ones. But
Did the mountain turn white or blue? Was it supposed to turn blue?
the mountains are they're gray.
They're a light blue.
They're gray, like a little bit of light blue, but mostly gray.
I think I have a Pineapple Express IPA lined up after this.
Ooh. Guys, do you have any more work stories you want to share?
Okay, because you've been talking about kids, I think the nearest I've had to it, because security doesn't really do the children thing, because you need like licenses and there's specific things you need to do for it. But the nearest I've had to that was for a year and a half, I did the night shift at New York University's dormitories in London.
Right.
And a lot of people don't know that New York University has actually dormitories in London for like overseas travel and education.
Mm-hmm.
And they are in like an old block of flats in like a really upmarket part of London, like very central. So the first floor of this building is just old people who are retired, who just want to sort of get on with their lives and just die, essentially. They want to relax and just get along with it. It's like,
A sweet embrace of death, yeah.
And the New University...
We'll be there soon enough.
New University buys the building and essentially makes the rest of it dormitories.
Oh, Jesus.
So the ground floor, the basement, second, third, and fourth and fifth floor are all students of New University. So university students are... Some are like older ones. Generally during the summer and the winter, they're older ones. But normal term time are like 18-year-olds who can't drink in America.
Oh, dear.
So when they come to Britain...
And they're Americans, so they're assholes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have these people come in, like the first group of people were like a little bit of trouble here and there. Not so bad because they're like just older students getting away with drinking here and there. The next lot are all 18, 19-year-olds who had not drunk in America. So the first Thursday of term time, so I've been there 3 months and it's been pretty good at that point. Like most nights have just been quite quiet. 1 or 2 occasions I've had to go up to a room and say, like, can you keep the noise down? Or someone's outside the building making noise and you go, like, can you be quiet because it's a residential area? And there's a whole system in place for this stuff. But this lot of students have never drunk before.
Oh.
And on the third floor of the building, some reason they put all the Korean students who are learning at New York University in the UK. So Korean students who never drunk in the UK who can barely speak English.
Oh, dear.
And this is the thing, I'm the only security guard of this building.
Oh, jeez.
They didn't put 2 security guards on. They put 1 security guard on because they didn't even pay for lunch at this point. So I was working 12 hours. I couldn't leave the building, but was working 12 hours, only paid for 11. And now I'm essentially babysitting these students on the first Thursday, Friday night of their first night of drinking ever.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, and there's one of the Korean students who gets a little too drunk. He comes in the building quite noisy, gets into the lift, goes upstairs. Okay, I'll keep an eye on him. Went up to his floor. He's fine. 1:30 in the morning, he comes down the lift, walks out of the building, shouting, screaming, stumbles down the stairs. Outside the building, there's like 10 stairs, which are like concrete. He misses the first one and falls down every one of them.
Oh.
Smacks his face on the concrete, stands up, and then fights a car.
I remember my first beer.
Not the one directly in front of him, but he walks across the road, fights some random car, like smashes it to shit. And I'm like, right, it's 1:30 in the morning. There's a procedure. I'm going, okay, I'll find this person. And you find him up. It's like, okay, what's up? It's like, yeah, one of your students has just beaten up a car. What? One of your students has beaten up a car.
Only because the car can't fight back.
Well, maybe he was playing Street Fighter. I don't know. He just wanted to beat up a car. He beat the shit out of a car. I was like, okay, I'll be over in a minute. And they were like down the road, 15 minutes down the road. They were on their way. So this student's come into the building after beating up a car. He's surrounded by 12 of his friends who are like also drunk and they're also very violent. And I have to sort of stand in front of this guy and say, go to your room and go to bed and don't come out don't come out for the rest of the night.
Have some bread.
I'm essentially a babysitter to this guy. It's like, because he's a guy, he's like maybe 19.
Yeah.
He's like a foot taller than me as well. All of his friends are like taller than me. And I'm like, yeah, okay, you need to go to your room, calm down, sober up, think about what you've done.
Apologize to the car.
And then come apologize tomorrow to the car. Exactly.
Yeah, and then I had to write a note for the person who owned the car. It's like, yeah, sorry, this is where you come to complain. This is the person you need to complain to. And it was just sorted out. And the guy went to bed and then come back next day and was like, apologise and said sorry for this and blah, blah, blah. And I think he got like a couple of £1,000 fine.
Ooh.
I mean, this place was like, it was like rich people travelling abroad for fun. One of the students was essentially leasing her room out to someone else. She's a student. She was leasing her room out to a guy who wasn't a student.
Oh.
Because she had her own apartment in London because her parents were paying for it. And it was like a couple of £1,000 a week. And she got to the point of like, she would come to the building and just sort of ring the bell. Because there's a card system. You sort of put the card on the thing, you open it up. She was ringing the bell and was like, okay, where's your card? I lost it. Right, we need to apply for a new one. She applied for a new one. Week later, I've lost it. 2 weeks later, lost it. Same thing over and over again to the point where they went, right, every time she rings the bell, report it, and she owes us $50. Next day, rings the bell, $50. 2 hours later, rings the bell, $50. She lost like hundreds of dollars just ringing the bell of this building. She could not give a shit. And the day before graduation, she got kicked out.
Day before graduation?
Yeah. At that point, I wasn't working there. So it was like, yeah. Yeah, it was crazy. It was like just babysitting like really rich students.
Yeah, I can imagine that's what a lot of security is, especially if you're doing it in like a university that's overseas, like a New York university that's in London. I can't even.
I mean, there was New University and there was Hamilton University, which was always on the ground floor, and people from the upstairs New University was like, come up to me like, are they giving trouble? And it's like, no, not really. It's like, oh, they will do.
Just wait.
Because they're like hillbillies apparently.
Give it time.
Like, okay. The hillbillies.
It's only 5:30 in the afternoon.
Oh my God.
But yeah, it's the only job I've been offered sex for like pardons on stuff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So did you take him up on that?
No. It was really kind of awkward.
Yeah.
I get that drawing cartoons, but it's also always really skeezy metalheads that are just like, oh, you are into band I like. I too like band. I sex you for drawing, and I'm just like, nah, I'm all right, thanks.
I sex you for drawing?
No, like the first week this group were there, they were like just sort of come back from drinking for the first night, and they were all drunk. And it's like they were quite pleasant, just joking around the hallway. And I walked down the hallway, and it's like, okay, you need to quiet down. And there's one girl who's doing like a handstand against the wall, and everything was showing. It's like, right,
what was she like? Not
she didn't care.
No, she was drunk and like not. And then she got to come down, like started hitting on me. And one guy went, yeah, she's hitting on you. You know that? It's like, yeah, I know. I know. There was like one guy who was sensible. It was the one guy who was like the nickname you'd think would be like the crazy guy. He was like called Moose. You'd think he'd be the crazy one, but he was like the sensible one. It's like, yeah,
sensible Moose.
I'm like, yeah, I know.
With resignation in your voice.
Yeah. And this other girl come up to the desk, and it was like just hitting on me flat out. And I was like, I think she did offer it at some point directly, and I was like, I kind of half heard it. I was like, what? Anyway, she was the one who later, maybe 2 weeks later, turned up. There was a taxi that pulled up outside of the building.
Right.
Essentially, I had a CCTV for the entire building. There was a taxi that turned up. It was outside the building for like 10 minutes. I was like, okay, just watching it on camera. It was like 2 a.m. So it's kind of an odd thing. And suddenly the door opened. 2 girls run out, come up the stairs, swiped in, run to the stairs. And this girl was one of the people who come up the stairs. And the girl she was with went, I'm never doing that ever again, and wiped her mouth.
Oh!
So I'm guessing she didn't have money to pay the taxi driver because generally taxi drivers want to be paid.
Oh my God.
A month later, she'd come downstairs and she was the same girl she was with. They went to the lift that went to the basement level, which was right next to the desk. And there was a poster there explaining that you shouldn't get in unlicensed taxis. Because in London, there's like unlicensed taxis, which are a really bad thing. And it's about like, essentially, you'll be taken to somewhere random and raped and killed, maybe. It's a really horrible poster. And the girl who said she'd never do that ever again was like, oh, that's a terrible poster. And the other girl who hit on me was like, yeah, that's all part of the learning abroad experience.
Jesus Christ.
Oh,
Yeah, I've been there. It's not that bad.
And at that point, I'll end my speaking for this show.
oh God.
And on that note, everybody.
Hopefully it's been entertaining.
Thanks for listening to the Fuck My Work Life podcast.
Oh my God. Oh, that is rough. Wow.
Okay, well, on that note, let's tell everyone where they can find that FKing show.
Breathe.
Okay, totalcultzone.com for the up-to-date information about our social media. Essentially, you go on there, you find where we are, like Twitter and Instagram. I find that's easier than saying all the social media stuff we're actually on, because I kind of bounce between them. Maybe we'll have a Facebook soon, but if you go on totalcultzone.com, that's where you'll find everything about the show. Also, my information about where you can see my artwork, which is really good. My artwork is amazing at this point in time.
Ass and titties.
Ass and titties and buttholes.
Nice.
Abbie, you have different stuff?
I do have my own stuff, thank you. Facebook.com/AbbieStabbyArt. That's the best way to get in touch about commissions. Abbie Stabby on Instagram. Again, another great place to get in touch and also see glorious pictures of everybody's favourite little fuzzy overlord, Sir Norman the Cat. I stream every other day on Twitch at Abbie Stabby Art, and once a week I stream for the UK's biggest heavy metal festival doing artwork, and that is twitch.tv/bloodstockfest. Yes, thank you. Yeah, that's a big deal for me. Thank you. Find me at Comic-Con anywhere across the north of the UK. I will be there with my vaguely Game of Thrones accent. Thank you, and good night.
Very nice.
Awesome. Oh, thank you guys so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
It's all good.
Everyone go listen to that FKing show. Follow their social medias for their art. Thank you.
Thank you
so much.
Yes. This has been a lot of fun.
It has.
Bye.
Send us your stories by email at fmwlpod@gmail.com, or you can leave us a voicemail at 310-818-3273. That's 310-818-3273.
You can find us on all the major podcast apps. Be sure to follow and subscribe where you can. If you like what you're hearing, leave us that 5-star review. You can do that on Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, and Podchaser.
You can also join us on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook at FMWLPod.
You can support our show by just telling your friends, or you can buy us a beer over on buymeacoffee.com/FMWLPOD.
And as always, support your indie podcast.
Just do it. Bye, everybody.
Do it.
Do you need us to call the police?